Thanks for joining in, everybody. Excited to host this session with Divesh and Sayani on how to land your target role in UI UX in the current job market. And there's a lot to unpack here because we're going to be talking about not just design roles, but also the fact that the current job market is in a very uncertain kind of a space, right? Where people are not 100% sure whether they should just apply it like they would typically in any other job market, given how competitive it is right now. So we'll talk a lot about the current job market as well. Before we do that, just a bit of background about myself. So I am the founder at Pivot, where basically we help people make smooth and successful career transitions. So if you're thinking about changing your role or your domain or industry, that's where we specialize and we help you land your target role. We do a lot of things to help you get there. For example, connecting you to industry experts like Sayani and Divesh for one-on-one guidance, plus also get organized and structured during your transition. But we'll talk more about that later. For now, I want to turn it over to Divesh first. Divesh, welcome to today's session. Thanks again for your time. And please go ahead and share a bit about yourself. I think you're on mute, Divesh.
Okay, sorry. So yeah, thanks, Arjun, for today's session. And previously I also had a talk and had a workshop with Arjun at the same platform, and it was so wonderful. So I think there are so many videos out there and on the YouTube, and you can guys always go and check out how Pivot is leveraging people and how they are mentoring all those people on the students. So that's very good. Pivot is going good. Another thing is, yeah, my name is Divesh Borse. I am senior product designer, having nearly a decade of years of experience in design industry. Previously, I was working with Publicis Sapient. Yeah, so I'm right now currently working with Microsoft and leveraging AI and design. And yeah, that's it. How I'm going forward and making people more happy. And education is always from my side. And I'm also giving. I'm also a mentor on ADP list, excelling their careers in design and people who are people who are students or maybe IT professionals or anyone who really wants to jump into design industry or UI UX so called. So I'm always there to help you guys, and yeah, that is how my background is.
Perfect. Great. Thanks, Divesh. And Sayani would love to know more about you and your career journey as well.
Thank you, Arjun. Hey, everyone. I'm Sayani, a designer, dancer, and a cosplayer. With over 7 years of experience in product design, my mission is to bring a touch of magic to everyday experiences. For me, design goes beyond pixels and prototypes. It's about creating moments that resonate with people, right? And at Gojek, I'm fortunate to contribute to this philosophy as we shape the future of food delivery in Southeast Asia. It's an exciting space where I collaborate with diverse teams, define roadmaps, and ensure a seamless, delightful ordering experience. Before this role, I worked for Homelane, a cutting edge interior design startup that specializes in instant 3D visualization of your dream home interiors with a precise cost estimation. And prior to that, during my tenure at Tech Mahindra, I collaborated with diverse clients, enhancing the chat experience for Volvo and empowering teenagers to gain a deeper understanding of their trust funds at RBS and NatWest. So these are some of the works that I've done. And when I step away from the design canvas, you'll find me, taking on different roles again. I'm an enthusiastic dancer, always eager to learn new moves. I'm a cosplayer who tells stories through costumes. I'm also a wanderer and a traveler that seeks inspiration in unexplored destinations. And I think these are some of the moments that ignite that creative spirit in me, right? That again makes me a designer. So yeah, that's pretty much about me. Over to you, Arjun.
Perfect. Great. Thanks so much, Sayani. That was brilliant. So thank you so much for sharing your background, both Divesh and Sayani. Let's dive in, right? Because obviously people are here on a Sunday evening to really, make a difference in their job search journey. So first and foremost, the most important thing that we want to address, and it's just kind of like the elephant in the room right now, is the current job market and how it's impacting the UX UI design space, right? So lots happening in different industries. We saw over the last 1.5 years that the tech market has changed drastically, right? Both from a skill standpoint as well as talent requirement standpoint. There are large tech companies which have laid off hundreds of thousands of employees over the last couple of years. And at the same time, AI has changed a lot of the tech landscape, I think, which has impacted design field as well. So just from your perspective, and perhaps we can start with Sayani, you first this time. If you can talk a bit more about, what you are seeing as trends that are shaping the future of design, and some of the key in-demand skills that you're seeing, from employers who are hiring right now for UX UI design.
Sure, Arjun. I think piggybacking on what you talked about, generative AI, right? And AI being the next big thing. A lot of companies using or incorporating AI these days, right? No doubt there will be there is a scenario where we fear that AI might replace our jobs, right? But amidst all of that, what would differentiate you, right? There can be some skills that would differentiate you and give you edge over the others. So one thing would be, be strategic in your design thinking, right? Something that AI wouldn't help you with, right? And I'll tell you what strategy is exactly not, right? It's not designing better interfaces, right? It's not about having in-depth meetings about what should we design, what problem should we solve, right? It's about choosing what to do and what not to do, right? And sort of being aware of the risks in the ecosystem. Okay. I think then I would also talk about being bolder with your design decisions when you're inside a team, or also when you're giving an interview, right? Be Understand why you made and what you made, right? That is something that would differentiate you. And be assertive in imprinting that taste of the work that you produce. Then I would also talk about financialization of UX, where today in the market you need to also be business aware. Like, what makes you different apart from being a good designer is also the business mindset and understanding what the business goals are of a company. So these are two things that I would tell, I would ask you folks to sort of ponder upon and think more about.
Got it. Okay. So, and Divesh, I think you have also recently made your transition from Publicis Sapient to Microsoft, and Microsoft obviously has been in the news all over the media with regard to the AI efforts that it has been making. And I myself am connected to people who are working in designing new ecosystems for Microsoft's open AI platform, or generative AI products. So clearly, what Sayani is saying has percolated into tech in a massive way, right? So, can you share your thoughts about not just AI, but any other trends you're seeing from a UI UX standpoint that people should know about and should incorporate in their career strategies going forward?
Right. Okay. So Arjun, what I think is currently, the current market trend is drastically changed. The market, which was in 2018-19, like before COVID, was really good. Okay. And then when COVID hit, it was drastically again changed, and it was really a boom in a UI UX market. Like everyone was joining wanted to become a UI UX designer, and the picture today is the same, right? But there was a supply demand problem. Like there was a supply demand which was now today it's not the same which was in the COVID. Okay. Apart from this, that I would like to include few of the things which are not so very related to design, but I would definitely want to let you know that how this industries are changing in recent years. If you got to know that Silicon Valley banks and economic structure, they have been collapsed, right? So half of the market is from US. So all those impacted in India as well. First they impacted in US, and then after that it impacted in India. So this is something how it happened in terms of business and in terms of economic structure I'm seeing. Now another part of the story is like the emerging technologies. When we say AI, definitely AI is something which we have to must learn AI. There is no chance. There is no chance for any kind of designer who has to miss AI. No. So everyone has to learn AI because it is taking place everywhere. It is taking place everywhere in every kind of product. If you ever see, if you see every each kind of product or any kind of website or application, you will see something kind of prompt or generative AI kind of thing, or there is an assistive technology they have used, or any other sort of AI. But AI is there. That is what I wanted to say. See, this is a technology, right? Now I would talk about the third part, which is a fundamental. When we say UI UX designer, you have to come up with a problem solving skills. Combine problem solving skills with AI or any kind of emerging technology or a very running technology, and with the business. These three things are very important today in the market. So not just showing up couple of projects on Behance or any kind of portfolio will not work today. Might be different with case to case, like if someone is fresh and the company is startup, so this might work. But yeah, definitely, like people who are mid-level senior or seniors or leadership roles, they have a huge demand of they have to learn and educate themselves in terms of design and UI UX. That is what I personally felt. And yeah, there are so many
Got it.
learnings. Yeah.
Got it, Divesh. Thanks for that. So Sayani, actually, just to turn it over to you again, we've talked about AI, and I think we have talked about having the context of business strategy to be able to build something that achieves the organizational goals, right? I mean, I think those are the fundamentals, and we have talked about them previously as well, right? I wanted to go a level deeper, to be honest, in this session, because I think the basics are somewhat covered and known to most of the masses, right? If you're in UI UX, you know that you have to understand the business context, you have to collaborate with engineers and marketers, all of those things. Can you maybe talk some of the unique insights or some few deep first principles thinking insights that you have come up with during the course of your career with regard to some skills that help people in design stand out from the others? Like what separates the good from the great, so to speak, in design for you?
Do you mean, I mean, inside an organization or regardless?
I think both. I think that's a good point that you raised, but I would say both, right? And mostly I would say more from a design perspective, because obviously there are things you can do in any department as any employee to really stand out from others, right? But like more from a design perspective, if there are key skills, whether they are hard skills or soft skills that you can talk about, that really you've seen the top 5 or 10% of the talent showcase more than the rest of their team members.
Okay. So let me divide this into, the soft skills, the hard skills, right? Two parts of it. I'll first talk about the soft skills, okay? I think a major thing inside and outside the organization is sort of articulating your design decisions, right? A lot of us as designers, we design a lot of things, okay? We might design great things, okay? But one of the skill that is acquired, and again, it comes with experience, is sort of articulating your thinking and how you made what you made, right? That is a huge thing, okay? And this also comes from, when you're in an organization trying to go through design reviews or design crit sessions, and you're trying to show your perspective as a designer. Also, when you are outside, presenting your work with different people, they can be industry experts, they could be your colleagues or your peers, right? What would set you apart is, articulating your design decision and also storytelling, right? Uh, there's this is also a skill that is sort of refined over time on how you narrate the problems, and problems of your users and how you solved it. So these two things, I think, from a soft skills point of view. From a hard skill point of view, I would say, again, one would again be refining your craft over time, right? I wouldn't say comparing yourselves with your peer, but you sort of study everybody else's, design, I mean the process of design, and sort of try to refine your own in the process, right? You could also see um, lot of designers these days, sort of proclaiming their niche, right? Like the other day, let me take an example. I was looking at Atul Khola's, portfolio. He's a designer at Cred, right? And I was sort of looking through the portfolio and seeing all the work that he's done. And he has a certain niche, right? He has a very out and out, expression of design with the work that he does. And it comes out through his, past work as well. And when you go through the design, sorry, the design of the portfolio, you sort of don't have to look through the portfolio, right? You can just say that, yes, this person is good at his craft. And that sort of sets him apart, because you don't have to go through the rest of his portfolio. You can see the landing page and say that, yes, if I was to hire a person for, great visual design skills and micro interactions, this would be the guy. So I think something like that would set you apart. Find your niche and sort of try to improve there, right? That would be something from a craft point of view. That's coming out
Yeah.
of my mind.
Yeah, no, I think both of those are very important points that you touched upon. I think one is obviously communication and articulation of, how your thought process has been behind your design work. I think that's equally important. Would you say like the communication can both be verbal and written? Because a lot of times when you're doing job search, in the beginning, it's all about what you have written. And we'll talk more about it in, when we touch upon the portfolio and those things. But would you say it's a combination of both verbal and written communication?
I think it's combination both verbal and written, but then again, I think being designers, we don't read, we see first, right? We scan first. So when we touch upon written, we would also talk about probably, how we could write it in a very concise way that sort of helps people understand. Because let's say we are all Gen Zs. I mean, population now is full of Gen Zs, right? And they have shorter attention span. So I feel like, yeah, we can touch upon it later, but written, it's a mixture of written and verbal, of course. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, great. Divesh, I have a similar but slightly different question for you than what we just discussed with Sayani. So, Sayani mentioned about portfolios, how she saw this, person's portfolio, and she knew that right off the bat that, it's somebody who is in the, top 5% or 10% of their field because of the nature of work, the quality of work that they have, right? So choosing a niche and all those things are very important. I know you and I have previously discussed portfolios, and you had even showcased, I think, last time, some of the work that you had done and included it within your portfolio. So let's talk about that, because for designers, one of the biggest points for standing out versus their competitors in the space is having a great portfolio. And I think you also mentioned, how people have generally Behance and Dribble portfolios, but that's not sufficient anymore because everybody has that. It's a hygiene practice now. So can
Right.
you
Yeah.
talk about, some of the best portfolio elements that you would suggest everybody to look at or include within their portfolio?
Sure. I would definitely go with my website, but before that, I want to let you know that see, I believe I also believe the same with what Sayani said is about, you should carry. There are two things, like one is hard skill and another one is soft skill. Another, when you show as a designer now, you have you got a chance, you got an opportunity to showcase your work. Okay, your work should talk without you. So that is what it is called as portfolio, right? Now when you jump onto the portfolio, anyone's portfolio, it should not only speak about how you work or what you work. It should also speak what your nature, what your lifestyle is, how you think, how you approach a problem, how you solve a problem, and how many ideas you are coming up with. Apart from your journey of design, what else you do? Because if you ask me about top 5%, right? Those top 5% are the people who are not just doing one thing. They are doing so many multiple things, like just being a very good expert in UI UX. Apart from it, like they are master of dance, they are master of craft, they are doing like traveling, they are doing photography, they are doing n number of things, they are mentoring designers, and then after all this bunch of skills, they are very much good at communication. And how they are putting this communication is through their personal branding. I believe personal branding is literally so important nowadays to become into a top 5% category. If you are not showcasing your skills, definitely you are a good designer, but you might not make into those top 5%. That is what I believe. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Like let's assume a scenario, like there is a too many of designers who is applying only for one job role, and you assume yourself like, do I have a potential or not, and you get rejected. That doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have skills. What I do as a personal branding, what I suggest people to go reversibly, go unusual. So let's say, like going like putting a banner of, I am a very bad designer. So this is a personal branding. You're not a bad designer, but you are showcasing that you are telling something about yourself. So that is how I believe that personal branding is very important. Communication is very important, and other stuffs include a cherry on a cake. So I would
Yeah.
like to showcase my portfolio, like what a newbie designer or mid-level designer should include in their portfolios.
Okay. Do you want to share your screen?
Just yeah, just a minute.
Okay. And Sayani, I don't know if in the meantime you also want to, just open up your portfolio if you have any, and just worth, taking people through in a high level manner and skimming through it. We don't have to spend a lot of time, and totally up to you if you want to do it.
Arjun, sorry to interrupt. Actually, the host is disabled the sharing of screen.
Okay, 1 second. Try now.
Yeah, I can do it now.
Arjun, a lot of my work is confidential, so I wouldn't be able to show my portfolio, but I can take you through the structure and the,
Sure, absolutely. No worries. And also, if there's anything on Gojek's app or website that's public already that everybody can see, if possible, you
Yeah.
can go through that. Otherwise, I mean, there's a lot to cover here, and Divesh is already showing his work, so I think we should be fine.
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Divesh, we can see
Are
your
you
screen.
okay? So this is my personal website. which I have included. I mean, this is something which I have included in my story. Like I'm doing as a storytelling. I keep always as a storytelling. People should get to know like who I am and where I am from, what I am currently doing, and what is his nature of lifestyle. So a brand, name, the designation, what I'm currently doing, how many years of experience do I carry, in what area I do carry, that is also mentioned. I also mention what I am doing apart from design. You can download a resume if you want to, which is a very quick way to for recruiters. Another one is this is also one more that I am also doing a mentoring, so you can also book a 30-minute call.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is like this is a philosophy, design philosophy, something like what my nature would showcase to people. So this is something like a positive guy who is always in a rush of doing what is meant for him, and he will not stop, and he will do anything for whatever it takes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is like of my forte, like my design skills. I'm not only generalist, but I am having a specialist mindset. I have kept product design, mentorship, interaction, and communication. These are the four elements. If
Mm-hmm.
you want to look or if you want to hire, these are the four elements which I carry within myself, right? Selected projects, I have kept only 4 projects. One is currently like with Publicis Sapient. This is a confidential project. Another one is my client's project, which is Capital Group project. That is also again NDA protected. There is third and fourth, which I can definitely showcase, and we will all definitely go on to that. Apart from just keeping a projects or case study, I also put what I do usually in my day-to-day life, in only in terms of design. So I usually give 60 minutes daily for interactions on Figma. So these are some of the screens which I had developed, and I usually spend this like a 1 hour from my excluding my working hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that is also good. I procrastinate, but I also write and document all those things. That is also like one another thing I do. This is my setup. I love workspace. I have created my own design studio at my home, and I usually spend most of the time here. So mentorship and workshop, that is what I do on the weekends.
Mm.
Credibility, definitely this is what I am just blabbering out myself ki main ye kar raha hu, main wo kar raha hu, right? But this is not something what I say. There is a credibility factor. People are also saying about me, and you can always go and check what they are saying. Like more than 500 students I have leveraged their potentials and made
Yeah. Divesh, sorry to
what
interject just in the interest of time because we want to start taking questions from people as well. So can
right
we
right
go through
right
just one of the portfolio case
sure sure
studies that you had shown? And then I want to bring in Sayani also into the conversation quickly.
sure
Yeah,
sure
that would be
definitely.
helpful. Thanks.
Okay, so this is something a Revake application. I would just go very quickly about what is important, what is needed in a portfolio, right? So this is a Revake application made for like this is from a took an inspiration like where there is a productivity loss of people, and we can motivate people by giving some reward points, and how and what is needed and how we have to go that we will see. So this is the first stage of a design where we have to give an overview of a project. What is the problem, how we need to solve it, and what exactly is the overview and the history of this particular case study.
Mhm.
The client was personal project, deliverables, and what I worked as a role. Okay. So next thing is design approach. I took a design approach of solving this particular case study, right? So I did a research, I understood the users, and then there were some questions, then some scenario specific questions to the users. That is what I have included in my portfolio. there were so many things, but now again, as a designer, we need to always see a broader picture. So how I have connected the dots through the problems, through that lifestyle, through the macro scenarios and micro scenarios. Those are the things. Uh, while doing this, I also did, a competitive analysis, like how many products or how many people who have already solved this problem or not, because this is very necessary. Like even if you are working on something, you need to check on a Play Store or any other platform where people have already made this solution or not. So that is also one major important thing, that competitive analysis is very important. I chose some of the participants and I took an user interview. I got this one research insight. Okay. And this is the highlight which I have designed in such a manner in each and every case study. I am representing this design of highlight, that this is my opinion or this is my insight which I have seen as a designer. So that this is also one important thing for recruiters whenever they see, as Sayani said, that project should be scannable, right? So this is something which recruiter will stop and look at it and read it, like what type of design decisions this designer guy has made. Taking the personas, defining the problem, highlighting again, this is the same thing. Use some kind of frameworks in the system of human behavior, and putting down the how might we questions. How might we motivate users? How might we help users? Or how might we increase the user productivity? I also included, like, if I, as a designer or as a team member, if I launch this product, how will be this revenue model? Okay. So this is one thing, how this user will go with the task analysis. Okay. Again, this highlight based on feature I created concepts. Okay. So this is something which I, as a personally designer, is taking design decisions. So onboarding experiences, definitely UX solving problem, fine, super ultra fine. But a designer who has a visual skills is also considered into the top 5 candidates. Don't underestimate visual design is like so many people say that visual design is underrated. No, definitely not. Visual design is really important. And then, onboarding, how onboarding has been done.
Got it. Divesh, this is very helpful. Thanks for sharing this. And I think you've gone in some ways above and beyond, like, for example, discussing potential business strategies, which I haven't seen in a lot of portfolios.
Right.
So this is really helpful. And maybe I can just bring in Sayani as well here. Sayani, so I mean, you're seeing Divesh's portfolio, and while we don't necessarily need to go through the entire portfolio or your opinion of it, what are some of the most important practices or elements you have seen people take up again within portfolios, which helps make or break their career transition or job transition journeys? Like, are there specific things when you're hiring designers or when you were applying for jobs that made you feel like, okay, this is something that clearly stands out for this candidate, and I should at least have a screening interview or a quick call with them?
Yeah. So I think, Arjun, the structure is very important, right? One would be the structure. Second would be the process, right? How the process is laid out on a case study is equally important, right? Because the recruiter just scans through the portfolio and literally you have 60 seconds, right? So I would say that visuals are equally important, but I think as you hire for more mature designers, I would say that the process itself is important, right? I'll quickly, maybe I would not share my screen, but I could share an article that we recently wrote. Maybe you can maybe you can share your screen, or I can share my screen. I'll probably take you through it for 60 seconds. Does that?
Feel free to share your screen, Sam. Go ahead.
Yeah. Mm. You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yes. So I'll quickly take you through this blog articles. Now, Devesh has already shared with you, the intricacies of how portfolio is made. While websites are very helpful, while you have a website, if you have an habit of writing articles, this is how you can approach as well. You could write articles and sort of share them on your website as a link as well. And make it try to make it concise. So here you'll see an article written by my colleague who was the lead in this project, about a redesign that we did, right? And I was part of this team for about 6 months, and we did the start to finish of this redesign project. And here what we did is we took an approach of doing it as a part of two-part series, because it was a huge design undertaking, right? So in this part, you sort of see like an introduction where we talk about why we did what we did, then our design process, and then we straight away take everybody to the showcase, right? In terms of what we changed and why we changed it, right? What were the insights before and what made us change what we did with the GoFood app. And you'll see that different examples of what changes we brought in, and the why as to why we did it. So this is a very nice way of sort of summing up what work you've done without fully talking about the process, but it shows the depth that these were the problems you had and this is what you tried to solve, and this is what the impact you got with it, right? So this can also be an approach when you're writing your case studies, especially when there is a lot that you did, right? And you're trying to sum up a huge project into a smaller chunk. So yeah, that's a takeaway I would try to like to give
Yeah, no,
with this.
that's very interesting. And obviously, I think this one is unique compared to, what Divesh showed and what I think most designers perceive of as a typical portfolio, right? Because typical portfolio is, it could be a website or it could be a Behance or Dribble profile as well, but it is much more visual in nature compared to what you're showing. But I think the difference and the advantage with the approach that you have taken, Sayani, is you can really delve deep into the design decisions that you have made and the different choices that you had perhaps in front of you and why you chose one over the other, right? So I think sharing the logic behind your design is sometimes even more important than the design itself, right? So I think from that perspective, this one stands out to me quite a bit. The only thing is, we talked about how Gen Z or perhaps even recruiters and employers sometimes have low attention spans. So how do you perceive this as a portfolio in that case, right? Where let's say a recruiter has to go through maybe 50, 100 different portfolios. And actually, I don't know if recruiters go through a lot of portfolios. It's mostly the hiring managers, people who are on the design teams who would be going through them. So they're already very busy. Do you think they will be going through something like this?
Not really, right? Not necessarily. So something like this sort of shows that you are thinking about the problem a lot, right? And you're trying to articulate it, and articulate your design decisions on it, right? So this doesn't have to be a portfolio piece that they would just see that, okay, I understand the work, right? Recruiters or hiring managers don't try to understand your project. That's why you have a portfolio round where you discuss your project, right? But something like this, where you talk about your designs, but also the thinking around it, shows that you can think about things, right? And you can think through things. And that sort of shows your design process in a nutshell, right? And you can always dig deeper into it in a subsequent call. So I
Right.
feel that today, at least most of the hiring managers, I am not sure again, would this work for a fresher? Because, for a fresher, uh, if they're doing their passion projects, right, it'll be little difficult to sort of navigate through how they would articulate those design decisions, right? Sometimes they would also have to show an empathy map, or the
Right.
whole
Mhm.
5-step design process. But I think as you mature, um, not a lot, because you if you are putting 5 years into, you have 5 years of experience, right? We know that you know the process. What else, right? How can you sum up the work that you did, more than empathy mapping and something else? um,
Mhm. Got it.
That would, yeah.
All right, great. Thanks for sharing these, I think both these design documents, Devesh, your portfolio, and Sayani, this article. I think any design workshop is incomplete without, some actual portfolio showcase and demonstration. So that was very helpful. And we have started getting some questions. Some people are directly writing to me as well. So you might not be able to see those questions. But there is one question that Naveen has shared, which is visible to everybody, I believe, and he has two questions. The first one is something maybe you both have already thought very deeply about and may have even mentioned it. So we'll perhaps ask Divesh this question first. So Divesh, what's the most common platform that you have seen candidates use to showcase their portfolio when they're applying for jobs? And which platform would you actually suggest that people go for?
Okay. So there are two things. One is for fresher and another one is for experience. When it comes to fresher, I always see Google Drive, Google Drive link, okay, or a Behance link for it for that matter. An experienced candidate is not having their Behance link or Google Drive. He or she always share either they have their personal portfolio or if that is an NDA, another scenario is there. But definitely, like who is experienced, like in hundreds, 90% of people have their own portfolio. Now, I want to include this one important thing is why everyone should build their own website. So the answer is if you build your own website with a very small details and beautifully done, there is this one sense going on in the recruiter's mind that he or she has done a really hard work, and what someone who takes really take cares of their design, take cares of their whole portfolio is necessarily like you will see that designer as a very genuine designer. When it comes to sharing a drive, it doesn't look really professional in only the exceptional cases of NDA and all. But definitely I would recommend to build a portfolio on website that showcases that you are someone who is showcasing your project or your work lifestyle and nature of
Interesting.
lifestyle.
Got it. And very
Okay.
interesting. I was actually thinking I was going to hear Behance and Dribble as being the most common platforms. But Sayani,
No,
yeah, Divesh, go ahead. Go ahead.
why I won't recommend is Behance is because there is another mindset in recruiters going on in their mind that everyone has the same structure and layout in Behance. If you see, every portfolio looks like same, the
Hmm.
color, typography, and then there is no like novelty in design.
Hmm.
So when you choose this portfolio to stand out or to showcase something good, I would recommend for this one.
Okay. Okay. Got it. And Sayani, just your perspective on the same question.
I think I agree with Divesh that having a portfolio website, becomes a key differentiator. In the past, I have seen a lot of Behance and Dribble portfolios, but now we did a little bit of recruiting as well, and when we did that, we saw a lot of personal portfolios. Again, I've seen with more senior members giving their links of Figma presentations or any of the Google Slides, because again their work is under NDA, so it's very condensed format of what their actual work is. And so I would probably divide it into two parts. For fresher, I would recommend that a good way to go about it would be having a website. Um, and for that, if you want like an easy platform, you could look at Notion. You have a lot of templates available in Notion, and very easy to sort of configure your portfolio with Notion if you're beginning, right? um, I've also seen few people use Webflow and Framer. But if you are delving into UX design, I would recommend you to start with a V0 on Notion, and then learn other tools and make better iterations of your work. right? And for I think people with experience, I would say that there is again, it is debatable, should do they need a website. A website is recommended, because a lot of hiring managers these days take a look at website links, or even when you're applying through job portals, you have like a link section and they ask for your portfolio website specifically, right? But there can be chances where when you're an experienced professional, you are busy, right? It's very difficult to update your portfolio. So in that sense, and a lot of your work is also under NDA, right? So I think there is a way about it where you talk to the hiring manager and you let them know that you have slide decks, and you can only send like a condensed format of your work. Again, it again depends from case by case basis, right? But a website is recommended. And just to dig little deeper on the website, you'll find a lot of portfolios online that are websites. You have UX. I think I'll send you few best folios. Okay, some websites that have good portfolios of folks. But again, one thing to remember is, just because you see a portfolio outside and you see the process, don't just blatantly copy or drive inspiration from them. I would recommend first, again, understand what kind of portfolio you're looking for, right? And what kind of company you're trying to channelize. So, for example, if you're trying to channelize a company that is very chat oriented, right? You could go and make a resume or a portfolio that is more that is like a chatbot. Okay. Something like an example I gave you of this person who works with Cred. His whole website is very visual oriented and micro interaction oriented, so it sort of brings forward that skill that he emulates, right? So I mean, it's very important for you to understand what kind of domain you're looking for and you're trying to channelize, and try to cater your or sort of make your portfolio in that direction. That gives you an edge with the recruiters as well. So those were some of my tips.
That's very helpful. I think you're having that perspective is helpful because there's so many mixed opinions about portfolios out there today, right? Even though, like Divesh said, and he's right, when you go to, let's say, Dribble or Behance, you see the same kind of portfolios over and over because everybody's following each other, or the best designers, right? So it becomes very hackneyed and one size fits all. But understanding how to perhaps tailor your portfolio that will reflect your best work, but also align with the requirements from the company or from the recruiters. I think that's very helpful as well. I see, Devesh, you have shared some links here, but let's cover some of these other questions because we're starting to get a lot of them. There's a question we have from Priyansh, and I think this one is going to stand out because I don't think we have a lot of undergrad or fresher folks here. I think mostly it's going to be people with some experience. His question is more around, as somebody who has just completed their undergrad design degree, what should their portfolio focus on? Should it be more about the outcomes or the process? And I think it's a very relevant question since they don't have a lot of work experience per se, right? So what are some of the best ways to job search as a fresher? Divesh, your thoughts?
For fresher, I believe, I've been mentoring from past 3 years, and I have also took so many interviews when I was in Publicis Sapient. I also hired few of the candidates who were not having so much of good, I mean, not so very good portfolio, but they have a huge type of problem solving skill. They, if I ask question, they have 10 number of different ideas. This is something also very important when you hire a fresher. you know uh, the hunger of doing work. So these are very soft skill. This comes under very underrated things which we usually not usually we ignore those things in hiring a candidate. But I would suggest that when you are in fourth year, like let's say if you are doing a bachelor's of engineering, when you are in a fourth year, try to communicate with mentors, try to communicate with such kind of problem scenarios, build a portfolio. No matter, no one is going to, I personally feel I never went anyone's solution. I never went to look anyone's solution in their portfolio. I always was in the search of, design approach. What type? I always go with three things in the fresher. One is uh, what type of problem that person have chose. Second, the design approach. And third, what type of design solution he has or she has made. These are the three things on which I evaluate for freshers, I am saying. So this is very important. Like if you see, like people, so many people use redesigning Netflix, redesigning this and that. Okay, that is fine, but what extra idea or what extra problem you are solving in that, global level of application which is being used, and
Right.
which is used by and accepted by everyone. So that is very important. Like build a portfolio. I'm not saying build a website showcasing everything. No, because you don't have time when you are in fourth year or after completing your fourth year. You don't have time. So I would suggest just find a problem, go and find a solution, try to solve it, and no matter, make mistakes. The very first step is like how many mistakes or how many iterations a designer has made. On the basis of that, we usually choose or hire that designer.
Got it. Okay. Sayani, I mean, just to kind of reframe the same question, in terms of a fresher looking for a design job, what do you think they can do to get more interviews, right? Let's go beyond portfolios. We don't have to stick to just portfolios necessarily. Even though, I mean, if you think the answer is in portfolios, feel free to share that. But let's say I have done some degree in design, and I know most colleges, I might be wrong, but I don't think a lot of colleges offer UI UX design kind of a specialization in college, right? Usually it's a boot camp or something along those lines. Um, so how do you build your career from scratch when you're starting out, and how do you get more interviews?
Got it. Yeah, I'll exclude folks who go to a design school because they would have, design some kind of campus placement. But if you're doing engineering or any other, you're from uh, any other background, you're trying to switch to design. I think portfolio is something that we've covered. Second would be also looking out for the kind of jobs the roles you're looking at, right? So have your LinkedIn always updated. I see a lot of freshers not doing this, like looking for opportunities, yes, but in what domain, right? If you're curious about healthcare, okay, looking for opportunities in healthcare domain, firstly that would attract a lot of recruiters that are looking for freshers in that domain. Second, it would also talk about your interests, right? That okay, there is a certain interest you have in a specific domain. Next would also be, right, like networking. There are a lot of workshops that you see, or meetups that you see. You could join a lot of these and talk to a few industry folks. There's also, referrals you could ask a bunch of folks from LinkedIn, or you have different, I would say there are different avenues of mentorship these days. Pivot, for example. Then there is ADP list. You could reach out to mentors, always take guidance. You could also let them know that you are a fresher looking for a job, and to connect you with like-minded people, right? I think bunch of these things, networking plays a lot of importance, portfolio as well, because when you're starting in, there is this, I think, to the sad truth about our industry, there is not a lot of scope for freshers to come and start working on complex products even in startups, because they do look for experience of 1 or 2 years. But what you could do is, like, what would set you apart is like showing initiative and doing that extra legwork of networking with people. It is also recommended that when you're switching, when you already have a job. Okay, I'll give an example of mine on how I started my design career, right? I was a software developer. The first job that I got was of application development. And I had a portfolio because I would do a lot of design work back in college. And then I took a boot camp. But I internally got my designation changed from development to design, right? So if you're already working in a company that has a design team, probably could start from internally getting transferred. That would give you a leverage, or that would give you a design experience of a year, and then you could start. Yeah.
Got it. So like an IJR, right? Internal job rotation, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think, that because we help people make career transitions, right? There's something that I just want to quickly share here, especially for the questions we are getting about, if you are a software developer, how do you transition to becoming a designer? And I think Sayani hit it on the head with one of the key points, that the main thing for you that's going to become a stumbling block in case you don't address it head on is how do you showcase your experience or your potential, because you've been working in a different field, right? That's why you have to build a portfolio so that people can judge your capabilities. Otherwise, there is no reference point for a recruiter or a hiring manager to understand what kind of capabilities you have, right? And to do that, there are a couple of different things you can do to showcase your experience. One is IJR, which is internal job rotation. That may or may not be possible at your company, but it's still worth looking into it, figuring out, speaking with perhaps your manager or HR about that, right? There are a couple of other things that you can do as well. And maybe Divesh or Sayani, you can add onto it later. Number one that we have seen people do, whether they're designers or even sometimes transitioning to, let's say, digital marketing, is freelancing, right? So a lot of times you don't need to necessarily get a full-time job right away. You build a strong portfolio and you start putting yourself out on certain platforms like Upwork or Fiverr. And today there are at least 5 to 7 platforms that I'm aware of in freelancing, which can get you very quick visibility in the job market. And initially, you can price your services, fairly reasonable, so that you can get more leads and you can build on that experience and get testimonials over a year or two. If you are doing things right, you will have a good portfolio, not just a personal project, but actual work that you have done for clients, right? So I think freelancing, the other thing that we have seen a lot of people do is, and apart from personal project side and portfolios, is volunteering. And this is the most, I would say, underrated thing, right? Because people don't want to work for free, which is true. But at the time you're transitioning, don't see that as a forever thing. You're not always going to be working for free. Go to your friends, go to your people in your network, and see if there are any early stage startups who are not willing to spend a lot of money right away on hiring a full-time designer. You can charge them if you want, something very minimal, but you could even do just one initial project on a volunteer basis, and that can be your foot in the door of transitioning. There are many more things that we can talk about, but Divesh, have you seen any particular strategies like this help people transition to design when they don't have a lot of experience already?
Yeah, actually, there is one scenario. Like, there is one candidate who I had hired him in my company. Before Sapient, I was working with another startup. So he was a mechanical engineer, and he wanted to jump into UI UX. Now, he had this only one case study, and that case study was regarding his mechanical department. Like, he finded out some problem from his department, and he tried to inculcate all his skills, knowledge, not only just design knowledge, but his engineering knowledge as well into that project. And he, after, like, completing his project, at the end he showcased that I miserably failed so many times, but I learned these key points or key things at the end of the day. Okay, this made me that, okay, this designer is so curious. He had actually made a bridge between engineering and design, and now he is also accepting himself that don't give me I mean, give me a chance. It might be a free, it might be a paid. So I hired him as a UX intern in my team, and he's now currently he's doing he's really good designer in a very good company. So what my suggestion is, even if you are not in the area of design in your career, you should always look for a problems. You should always seek for a problems as a designer, because in design field, design itself is called as problem solving field, right? So find out the problems in your area, find out your problems in your discipline. Maybe you can bridge them and you can come up with something new. There might be high chances that in that area it is not being innovated, but definitely you will innovate as a designer in the design field, right? So that is how, but the key point here is to find a problem. That is very important.
Find the right problem to solve, yeah, and kind of showcase your potential. Makes sense. I know we have shot beyond our time, Sayani and Divesh, but there are at least 3 more questions. Would you have some more time to quickly address them? We'll take maybe another 5-7 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thanks so much. Obviously, there's a lot happening in the job market. You can see, people are looking for answers. So the next one we have is from Richa, and this is, I think, more of a unique question that she has asked, and it's centered around a designer getting rejected from a design challenge in the interview process without getting much feedback from the employer. How does one figure out what they are missing or what they really need to improve on? I think this is a problem we hear about very, very often, which is you don't get personalized feedback from employers when you are interviewing, whether it's a design role or some other role, right? What do you think, Sayani? How can somebody figure out based on just the outcome of the interview, like what to really fix, what to work on?
Okay. I can empathize with Richa here. Okay. It's a question that even I struggle with, right? At times when you don't get a specific feedback um, on, how you're working, on how your work is, and you are there to guess blind. But I think what comes to it is like, even if you're not getting a specific feedback from an employer, you need to be self-aware in terms of what were your shortcomings according to you, right? And try to develop that. And so if you think that you were not good at, say in an interview example, you were not able to articulate your process better, maybe for next time you could first start with working on your process, or how you would talk about your process, right? I think in the end, unless you get like good constructive criticism, you need to be your own criticizer, and objectively think where you can do better, right? Only when you reflect, and again, as designers we need to self reflect a lot, um, and see where we could better ourselves, right? I think that's the only way to sort of get better from one interview to other.
Got it. All right, we'll move on to the next question, and this one I think we can direct to Divesh. Divesh, we have a question that to become a UI UX designer, is it mandatory to learn the front end languages like HTML, CSS?
No, I don't think it is necessary to learn front end and all those. Apart from design, if you are good at design, you will get hired. Okay. Now, if you know both things, let's assume you know 90% of design and 10% of CSS or HTML. That is a cherry on a cake. Like if you are getting like 10 lakh of CTC, you will get 15 lakhs definitely, because half of the work can be done by you where there is no software developer needed in the company, right? I'm just telling this about a mid-scale or a startup companies. This doesn't necessarily happens with MNC companies, because they have a very fixed JD and all those things. So I believe if you want to become a designer, just first focus on design. Just first focus on 90%. Don't look for that 10%, right? that 10% is just to advance yourself, and that can be done while you are on the job, right? So it's not, I don't think that is necessary, at least for a someone who is at the initial level, like a fresher.
Okay, got it. Okay, I think we have covered a couple of questions which are in regards with how to transition from, let's say, software development to design. So I believe Lakshay, Chiranjeevi, both of your questions are similar along those lines. So I think one of the other questions which is slightly different is from Juhi, and her question is more around how do I present my projects in a portfolio if they are under NDA, right? And Sayani, obviously, you just came across that problem just now in the middle of our, this workshop. So, how does one showcase their best work when they're applying for roles if they are under NDA? Is there a way to kind of, redact your project or anonymize it in certain ways, or should they only go for the open projects which are less, less important or less substantial?
Okay. So there are a bunch of ways to go about this, right? One would be talking about your projects. You give them a very brief overview about what the project is, and then you see a lot of the project password protected, right? So if a recruiter really wants to see your work, they would have to connect with you and get the password from you, right? So here again, there are pros and cons of everything. Con here would be that maybe the recruiter won't have the attention span to ask you the password or use the password and read through your portfolio, right? Which is mostly the case, right? Second would be again, you don't use the company logos. You sort of it's again a tedious process. You don't use the company logos. You redact all the information. You try to write your case study in more of a generic way. It is focused on the problems and the process, but you do not give any details out, right? That is the second way to go about it. So these are two, right off the bat, these are two different ways you can go about the project. Third, again, is obviously having your old work on on your website, but you could send the recruiter like a deck of case study or a deck of the work that you have, and you can ask them that you can talk about it in a in-person call, right? But I would recommend one of the two that I previously talked about, the first and the second, because unless you have experience, the recruiter may not likely go further unless you show them something. So these were three ways to go about it.
Okay.
I would like to also put some points. Like I want to share my myself portfolio. Like this is a very huge point, because a lot of things, a lot of designers have already asked me how to showcase my NDA projects, right? So when you have NDA projects, there should not be only NDA projects. Along with that, you should also have pet projects, one or two. Okay. One thing what I see is how you talk about that NDA project. Okay. So let's consider this. If you can see my screen, the company name is Capital Group. Okay. And the application or the product name is Quant Score. The name has been changed. Okay. You can see this image. There is a screen, but I have blurred. So I'm obviously I'm keeping my NDAs within myself, and I respect my company, but I also want to showcase my skills, right? To get in my career, right? So what I am writing here is I would love to, but I can't show this project publicly. But what I all can say is I worked with product team to create multiple platform. How does this sounds? Like I am not going to tell you anything, but what all I can say is I work with some people who were the related to product team of this particular capital group, and now this team is capital product group product team. So basically you have this NDA project. To showcase this NDA project is another level of art you have to inculcate within yourself. Okay, So showcase, let's say if in this project I have created 50 screens, right? Now what you can do is, if you are going to showcase, just show 5 screens to 6 screens from that 50. And along with that, the very important thing is show the design approach. You can always show your design approach. That is not a NDA protected NDA protected thing, right? Your design approach as a designer is the only thing which is going to get judged. I in my career I was never interested in solutions. I was always gone through the design approach of a designer. Why? Because that is the only reason, that is the only important thing. Design solutions can be made by anyone today, right? AI can also make designs for that matter. But the only important thing here is how or why you are taking some kind of design decision. That is what only important.
Understood. Loud and clear. Great, Divesh. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's a novel approach. I think, although tread with caution, I think with anybody who is sharing, personal work that is confidential, make sure that, you have read through the NDA properly and you're not violating any aspect in whatever form or manner. We have last two questions and then we'll wrap this up because we have overshot way beyond our time. The next one that I want to take is from Amar, and this one is actually also quite interesting question. I think that been a lot of focus on UI design that most freshers or most people who are transitioning to design first take, right? It's more on the front end. It's more about the visual aspects. So his point is more around that he wants to transition from computer science to UX designer. He's also done some software sales, but what kind of tools should he be focusing on? Should it just be Figma or any other tools? And how to really get into a UX career, rather than just UI. So how to build, for example, UX research skills and those kind of things. Sayani, would you be able to share your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think how I would like to answer that question is, again, there is a lot of focus on UI design. And I think that's, again, a con of our industry where we sort of see, one way we could choose freshers is, when you see good UI, coming from them. But as a graduate, if you want to transition into UX design and not solely UI design, I would say that there is a lot of, today there are a lot of resources around on the internet where you learn about research, where you learn about stakeholder management, the whole design process end to end, and then the wireframing and your core UI design as well, right? I would say that start, if you have any problem ongoing that you want to solve, start with that, sort of add your design thinking mindset to it, and keep challenging yourself around that, right? Let me give you an example, right? I had a colleague who had an amazing fresher portfolio, right? But one thing that stood out in his portfolio was he had a case study of his own portfolio itself, right? So how his portfolio has evolved from V0 to what version it is today. And he has like the requirement gathering, the UX research, the talking to past participants, gaining insights. He has all of these documented over all the versions that he has, right? And then he has data of the experiments he ran, okay, of how the V0 worked, how V1 worked, how many recruiter pings did V0 get versus V1 got, right? And that's in itself, it's a very simple idea to make a project out of your own portfolio, right? But that sort of took me aback in terms of, wow, this is something that is unique. So I mean, pick up small projects like that would help you sort of put that process into place and keep experimenting with that process, right, in yourself. Or you can, probably get a bunch of friends and you could ask them, if you were to solve one problem today, what would it be? And try to, cater to that problem. I mean, that would be my, uh, you know, uh,
That's a
tidbit.
great, I think, example, about the case study of your own portfolio and how it has evolved. I don't think I've ever come across that. That's a very interesting one. Um, the last question that I want to cover, and I apologize in case we missed any question. I think there was a barrage of questions that came in the last 20 minutes. So hopefully we have addressed them all. The last one is Naveen and I believe Chiranjeevi are both trying to understand what is the current job market like and the competition in the market for UX UI designers. And if you have seen more competition for, let's say, people with greater experience, people with, let's say, 5 years experience, or do you see that competition being there for even the freshers and people with less than 2 years experience? Divesh, have you come across anything, whether through your own hiring or through when you were going through your job search recently? Have you seen more competition in the job market for UX UI designers?
Yes, definitely, Arjun. There is a high competition going on in the job current market. Like if there is one opening, there are at least thousand of people who are applying for the same job.
Hmm.
Now, how these guys, like how recruiter guys are selecting the candidate? There are two things. One is organic, and another one is inorganic. Organic is like people are applying through the website portals and or maybe LinkedIn. Now, uh, the one who applies through LinkedIn, there are very less chances that he or she will get seen, not selected, get seen. Okay, and another one is people who are applying through referral. There is a high chance, high possibility that referral works very well. Okay, like let's assume you have a company today, you hired me as a designer, I am working with you as like from past 5 years. Now I am recruiting, like I am asking you that we need a designer more, right? And if I get referrals, like if I come up with couple of designers, you will see as a company CEO, you will see me as like I trust this guy, and I will trust this both of them also, which you have come up with, right? So this is how referral works. And inorganic, how this works is about ATS. They have this special technology as ATS. They will just type those keywords. Let's say JD is all about product designing. Okay, product designing, and we are looking for someone who has 3 years of experience. And there is this job description written like communication skills should be this much, and that's that. There are so many things. A recruiter or HR will choose that keyword and put in their ATS software. Those 1,000 applications will be getting rejected, and the one who has those keywords will be shortlisted.
Mm-hmm.
So here the very important point is smart. You should apply very smartly. Like
Right.
where there is a job description, you always have to create a resume for that particular job description and then apply, so that you will get selected. At least you would get an entry or at the door, right? That is very important to know. And job market, current market is like previously, like in 2022, like whole 2022 and 2021 half was not so very good. But now the pace of the current market is growing little. Like we are in a good stage, at least good stage, I would say. Not
Yeah.
as like in a COVID situation it was really good, but now we are in a good state. Like we can get a job, but we will not get a competitive package. That is very very sure,
Got it.
unless
Okay.
and until you carry everything, like exceptional experience, exceptional if you are from a master's degree from IITs and NITs, that is a like they are in a huge demand. So that is like another case. But yes, definitely, if you have a very strong portfolio, high level of communication, everything is at the place, you will get hired. But
Got it.
yeah,
Great, Divesh. I think yeah, getting referrals and showcasing your portfolio in the right way. Also making sure you're not applying for any and every role. I think Sayani mentioned earlier to find your niche, find the industries where you have greater interest, right? So that people can connect with your passion, your interest.
right,
And then yeah, keep doing it. The job market is hard, but also like Devesh said, it's getting better. It's picking up pace. So continue to just have discipline and apply consistently to the roles that you believe you are best suited for. I think with that we would like to wrap this up. I know there was one question which is very straightforward around where to potentially build your website if you want to have your own portfolio website. I don't know, Devesh, where you do it, but I've heard like Squarespace, Wix.com, a lot of these like Webflow and a couple of others are very, very helpful when people are building their own websites. Do you have any one or two quick websites that you want to share to build your
yeah,
own?
yes, yes. So I would go with two things. One is commercial and one is personal use, right? Now, if you are having if you are not using as a commercial, then Wix is really nice. I mean, Framer is also nice and Webflow is also nice. That is fine. Like for each other platform, if you are using it for free and personal use, like let's say showcasing for portfolios. So these three websites are really cool. But like if you want to commercialize, then Webflow and Framer is really amazing. But again, I would say like for start, like you are starting, right? This is your start, initial level of building a no code platform. I would suggest to go with Wix. It is very less expensive, less. They have a less components and less functionalities, which is which is important. Like the things which are important are being included in the Wix. And then another thing is there Wix editor, X editor. There is some X editor name. I don't know the exact name, but they have an advancement. But again, like their comparison with price and Webflow price is same. 25 to 30,000 per year is too much,
Right.
right?
Okay, great. I think that was very helpful. Thanks, Devesh. Sayani, any parting thoughts from you with regard to the overall workshop and so many different things that we have covered today?
Yeah, just before that, I would like to add on to how where you can make your website. I would say Notion is a very good tool. It's free.
Yeah,
You could use Notion as well if you're starting out. Yeah, and then parting thoughts on the whole workshop. I think very interesting questions around what consists of a good portfolio, and what are the trends in the industry that we need to look out for. But I think one key takeaway, or to summarize, is there would be trends, every year. But I think what you would have to improve if you set out to this design journey is always upskilling your core skills, right? Keep doing that. And that would help you in the long run. Yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Perfect. I think that's a great note to leave the workshop on. I hope everybody who attended it found it insightful. And you may have noticed that I have shared a few links in the chat section. One is for our website, which is pivot at mypivot.work. Do check it out if you're looking for personalized support on your job search or your career transition to design. And I've also shared links for both Sayani and Devesh's profiles on our platform. So in case you're looking for one-on-one feedback on your job search or your career transition, you can reach out to them directly as well. And it's a very smooth and straightforward process. So I would say definitely consider it. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. And thank you once again, everybody, for making it for so long, almost an hour and a half. Wow, that's probably a record that we have set today with our 50 plus workshops that we have done. So thank you so much, Sayani and Divesh, again for joining and sharing your insightful experiences. All right, with
Thank you.
that, we'll
thank you,
just
thank you.
wrap it up. And yeah, great. Thanks so much. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Bye bye, guys. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, everyone.